Hi everybody and welcome to the Whitey the White Guy Show. I'm Whitey. And today I'm going to do a review of the film The Bad News Bears, the remake that came out circa 2005, 2007, something like that. And again, it's a remake of a classic that came out in I think like 76, 77 that starred Walter Matthau, Vic Morrow, and a bunch of kids. If you're not familiar, Walter Matthau is a washed up baseball player who's in his older years. He's a drunk, he's a loner, and he gets paid to coach a little league team of basically the outcasts that weren't good enough as athletes, or just socially outcasts that weren't allowed onto the better teams. And at first he doesn't care. He's just in it for the paycheck. He's in it to get. He's constantly drunk, and they go out to play their first game. No idea what they're doing. They get slaughtered, and then he realizes how much he starts getting invested in the kids and realize how much he's hurting them emotionally. So he doubles down and starts actually teaching them how to play baseball. He goes out and recruits a couple better kids. I'll get into that a little bit. And then they start getting good. As they start getting good and winning games, they start heading towards the league championship. And it gets into a bitter rivalry with Vic Morrow's character, who plays one of the other coaches who's on the better teams. And then they get caught up in their rivalry that they don't realize that they're hurting the kids. And so at the end of the film, Vic Morrow, he actually walks out and smacks his own kid, who's the pitcher on one of the teams, on his team, for screwing up a play. And Walter Matthau realizes what he's doing to his kids, and then says, sends out the lesser players. And basically the lesson is, doesn't matter whether you win or lose. You don't have to be perfect. Just go be kids. Just go play baseball and have fun. That's the point. So the point is that the league and the parents and the coaches and society, it's a metaphor that speaks to society as a whole. With our drive and ambition for perfection, we've lost track of just let the kids be kids. And the kids it felt like as you watch this, again, the classic from 76, that somebody just turned the camera on and let the kids do stuff. I mean, they felt natural. They acted like kids. And you go, well, that's not hard. They're kids. Kids don't know how to act, generally speaking. But I mean, they pulled it off brilliantly. And there's a certain charm. There's a sweetness. They're saying foul things and they're fighting, but there was an innocence to the first film. And again, the whole point, which is a really great point, it spoke to society as a whole at the time, which is your drive for perfection. In your drive for perfection, you've lost sight of the fact that they're your fucking kids. Just love your kids no matter what. They're your kids. And it's not about being perfect. It's not about who wins or loses. It's about letting the kids be kids and have fun. It was an excellent film that just had, again, an innocence and a je ne sais quoi to it. And then they remade it. And the remake, I just watched it. I saw the original when I was a little kid, and I loved the bejesus out of this film. It was just a great movie, especially as a kid. And I'd catch it on TV time and time again and go, oh, yeah, I remember that. And in that, I'd be like, I remember being 9. I remember being 12. That takes me back. The remake was painful. It was physically painful. Everything was wrong with this film. Everything was wrong. The new one stars Billy Bob Thornton and Greg Kinnear to play Walter Matthau and Vic Morrow, respectively. That they got right. If you came to me before I saw this and you said, who do you think should play those roles? I would say, well, Billy Bob Thornton and Greg. That's perfect. Those are the two guys who should play those roles. The kids, I wouldn't say they did a bad job, but they lacked that sweetness and innocence that the original cast had. So the problem isn't so much the actors. The problem is the writing, and the problem is the director and the producer. They didn't understand the message of the first one. So in the first one, a kid would say shit, or a kid would say, pardon me for saying, they would use racial slurs. And there's a scene with the little kid, the Tanner kid, the troublemaker. He's in somebody's face, and the little kid walks around and he goes, Tanner.
Playing like this will be the laughing stock of the league.
Well, what do you expect? All we got on this team is a bunch of Jews, spicks, niggers, pansies, and a booger-eating moron.
Tanner, I think you should be reminded from time to time that you're one of the few people on this team who's not a Jew, spick, nigger, pansy, or booger-eating moron. So you'd better cool it or we may be disposed to beat the crap out of you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Did that kid just say that? Wow. And it's in a movie? Like, everything prior to that was, you know, Leave It to Beaver, where the kids would be like, oh, gee willikers, I'm sorry I did that. And now they're using racial slurs. It was a shock to the system, but it had an innocence to it. You know, it had a charm to it. And the message ultimately was a good message. The people who remade this didn't get the message. For them, they thought, oh, it's funny because he uses a racial slur. It's like, no, that's not the point. That's not the point. It's not why it was funny, and it lacked a charm. Every single thing in the remake felt forced, felt contrived, felt rushed. It felt like the filmmakers were doing a homework assignment, or that they had been busted with drugs and this was part of their parole. It didn't feel like people who appreciated the original were just remaking it, because, you know, sometimes you got to remake a movie. The filmmaking is updated, the technology is updated, you got to make it sharper, crisper. You know, the context of the jokes might be dated. So there's a bit in the new one where in the original, the black kid likes Hank Aaron, I believe, is his idol, and he wants to be like Hank Aaron. And so now they make it a more recent baseball players, so the kids will catch the reference. Okay, fine. But they missed the point completely. And one thing they did in the first one, there's the Kelly Leak character. If you're not familiar, Kelly Leak was the like a gangbanger almost. He was like the tough kid in the neighborhood of the outcasts. He was the guy where they're like, that's Kelly Leak. He's a bad mother. So he's there from the beginning, and he's always on his motorcycle. He's smoking a cigarette, drinking a beer, watching things from afar. And then one day somebody hits a foul ball out of the park, and he throws it and he goes, this guy's got an arm. You know, he's in the same grade as us. We got to get him in here. Walter Matthau's character recruits Kelly Wurlitzer. He used to date her mom, and he taught her how to play baseball, so he recruits her to be the pitcher. And this bad team starts getting better. But here, Kelly Leak doesn't show up until halfway through the movie. And all the relationships were just forced. There's the Vic Morrow character and Walter Matthau have that rivalry. It's not really there until the Bears are getting into the championship. Here, it's just there. And so because it was done before, I guess the filmmakers are just like, oh, you remember those guys didn't like each other. Well, now they don't like each other. But in the original, you developed that. There was motivations for why they were doing what they're doing. Their characters were developed, and their relationships between the characters were developed. There's a bit where there's a kid named Tanner, and he gets in fights all the time. And then there's a kid named Lupus, who's a little quiet introvert who barely says a word, and he's very frail and everything. He's getting bullied, and Tanner sticks up for him.
Lupus, could you go somewhere else while I'm eating? You make me sick.
Hey, Lucas, man, how's it going?
Give it.
What do you need it for? You hardly ever play anyway.
Sit down. We was only kidding anyways.
Did you see how that looks neat, man? Hey, if we had to do that to all the Bears, they might play better.
Hey, Joey, you hungry? You want my burrito?
I wouldn't eat your burrito if you paid me to.
Go on. Take it. It's the best way to eat it.
Little.
I'm gonna kill you.
I'm gonna knock your nose so far you're gonna have to take off your hat.
Beat the crap out of you.
Oh, yeah.
Take on all the Yankees after this.
Hey, I'm gonna kick your butt, little shit.
You owe me 30 cents for that burrito.
Put you in the mouth. Little shit. Well, that's one
one bird down and 11 to go, but come to think of it, they ain't worth it.
Thanks. Nobody ever stuck up for me before.
Well, Lupus, if you wiped your nose once in a while, people wouldn't give you so much crowd all the time.
And then he sees the Lupus kid that he hurt him with that he didn't mean to, but he hurt the kid's feelings. He felt bad for him. It was all through facial expression and everything. And they do the same scene and it's not in there. That relationship developed over time is just gone. And I was just, oh, remember that? They did that in the first one. Now these guys are friends. It's like, no, you have to actually go through that process and develop these relationships. Kelly Leak joins the team ultimately. His primary motivation is that Vic Morrow goes up to him and says, nobody wants you around. It's not just that they don't want him to play baseball. He's like, we just don't like you. Nobody wants you here. It's like, God damn, he's just a kid, Vic. Calm down. So the kid joins the team as a fuck you to that coach who's been such a dick to him. That was his motivation. That doesn't happen in this one. Or it does, but it's like brushed over very quickly. Again, like a homework assignment. Okay, we got to cover this point. Let's get that done really fast. It's not developed characters and developed motivations. And it all felt false. It all felt false and contrived, and it was forced. There's scenes, the Walter Matthau character, again, he dated the girl character. He dated her mom. But they too developed a relationship during that time. And now she's trying to kind of reignite that relationship. And he's like, no, I was dating your mom. We're not friends. And that hurt her, like, emotionally, and you saw that happen. And here but you develop that over many scenes, and now it's like they just brush over that really quick. It's like, but you didn't set that up. We don't know why she wants to be his friend. She doesn't have a fucking dad. That's why she's, like, motivated to need that Walter Matthau character there as a dad, because she doesn't fucking have one.
Damn years. Did you ever think of that?
That's where you feel fine.
Sure.
So it was. I could do this all day. It was bad. It was a bad movie where the people who remade this did not understand the point of the film at all. They didn't understand why things were funny. They didn't understand why the characters were doing what they were doing, and it's a goddamn shame, because the first one was so good. And it said so much. It was about society. And parents who had watched that film with their kids, because it was a kids movie, would go, damn, am I treating my kids like that? Here, all of it's gone. All of it's gone. They missed the point entirely. So it's a crying goddamn shame that it got made. If you have seen the first one, and you liked the first one, and you felt it was special to you as a kid, do not go see the remake, because you'll fucking hate it, and you'll wish you hadn't seen it. You'll wish you could be unaware that it existed. If you haven't seen either of them, don't go watch the remake, because there's nothing there for you. But do go watch the original. You'll love it. It's going to stand up to time. It's an infinitely better film in every single conceivable respect. So that's my rant and review on the Bad News Bears. Thanks for watching, and good journey.